Hey, it's Joe Amoya, founder and creator of GPSforLove.com. Have you ever been involved with a guy where you wish that he knew what you were really thinking? Well, if so, I want you to pay close attention because today we're going to talk about how to get a man to understand you and to really know what you're thinking. So, what I got to tell you right up front is we just don't think like you. Now, it was a lesson I learned really early in life because I had the fortunate pleasure of growing up with women. And I cracked the code real early in life. So I'm going to share two quick stories with you. So the first is when I was younger and I asked my mom what she wanted for her birthday. I'm sorry, for Christmas. And, Mom, what do you want? She's like, nothing. Mom, what do you want? Nothing. Asked her probably about over a week. This was after my dad passed away. And so, you know, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. And so guess what I got mom for Christmas? Yeah, I'm embarrassed to admit it now, but I got her nothing. And guess what happened? I got my ass handed to me. I got reamed like you couldn't imagine. I can't believe you didn't get a present, after everything that we went through this year and blah, 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 blah. And I got to admit, at that time in my life, at that point in my journey, I was like, but wait a minute. I asked you multiple times what you wanted, and you said nothing. And now I'm getting in trouble with it. Now, that leads us into the second story. A little older. I was in I was in college, actually freshman year of college, and my sister was in a really bad car accident, and she was hospitalized for a couple of weeks. And her boyfriend, who had just started a new position with AT&T at the time, he was doing his training, and he came to visit her in the hospital, and we're all in the hospital room hanging out. And for 2 hours, she's like, hey babe, you need to go home. You just started this position. You want to be on time. He was commuting like an hour and a half just to get to the facility. And she's like, you came, you're here, and I want you to go home. And he was like, no, I want to be with you. And for 2 hours, you need to go. I want you to rest. No, I want to be with you. 2 hours. Go. No, I want to stay. Go. I want to stay. Go. 2 hours this went on. Finally, after about a little over 2 hours, he says, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, it's okay. I want you to go. He's like, you sure? So he leaves. He's no sooner out the door. I'm not talking 25 feet out the door. She turns around and goes, that asshole, I can't believe he left me. And I'm sitting there going, what just happened? For 2 hours, you told him to go and you argued, and he said he wanted to stay, and it was clear he wanted to stay. And finally, after asking you one more time, he leaves, and now you're calling him an asshole? Like, it didn't make sense. And the answer she gave was when the light bulb went on for me. Because I said, why did you do that? Why do you say if you... And her answer was, but I didn't really mean it. And at that point, it's when it clicked for me. What a woman says isn't always what she truly means. And that's when I started to begin to cracking the code. Now, I'm sharing that with you because to let you know, honestly, we don't think like you. We're not women. We don't have the feelings. We don't process. We've been brought up in society, through our cultures, through our families, through our religions, a lot different than you have been. And masculine energy is different than feminine energy. Masculine energy is very logical. It's very practical, where women's feminine energy is more open. It's more flowing. It's more, it's easier. Okay. It's not as analytical as men. It's more from that loving place, that loving, compassionate place, more understanding. That's more feminine energy. So guys primarily don't operate from that side of our brains. And so you have to use that to your advantage. So if you want a guy to understand you and to really know what you're thinking, all you got to do is tell him. It really is that simple. Just tell him. Now, I know there's a part of you, yeah, but I shouldn't have to tell him. I understand you shouldn't have to tell him. But the reality is, if you want him to understand you, if you want him to know what you're thinking, simply teach him. Show him your truth. So I'm going to give you 3 things that will help you. The first thing, if you want him to understand you and to know what you're thinking, is to be clear, to be crystal clear on what it is that you're thinking and what it is you're feeling. If I just went through this with one of my clients the other day, and it was her birthday, and she was telling her boyfriend, you really don't have to do something special. You can put off, till after Christmas. And they had that little kind of conversation dialogue. And I could just see in her body language that that wasn't her truth. And when I called her on it, she's just like, you know what? She's like, I love my birthday. She's like, I love celebrating and I love making a big event. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just tell him that? And she was like, well, I shouldn't have to tell him that. I'm like, well, that's why we have the problem. Because in his world, he really thinks it's not important because that's what you've told him. So you've got to be clear on what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Now, the second step is that you can't expect a man to think like you. Okay, because he's not a woman. He's not you. And he's not going to think like you. Now, unless he's cracked the code, like some of us have, he's just not going to do it. So expecting him to crack the code, to think like you, to understand what's really going on in your world isn't going to happen. It's kind of funny, but here's a story I heard once is that what happens for a man, if he's driving down the road and he needs to go to the bathroom, he says, you know what? I need to stop at the next rest area because I need to go to the bathroom. Do you got to go? And he'll ask. Okay? For a woman, instead of saying, I need to go to the bathroom, could you pull up? What she'll do is like, do you need to go to the bathroom? And the guy will go, no, I don't need to go. I went before. I really don't have that urge. And so a woman will sit down and sit back, expecting that man to understand that she wants him to ask about her and if she needs to go. And that doesn't work. Okay? It causes so much confusion. And that's what frustrates us men because we're like, if you need to go to the bathroom, just let us know. We love you. We want you to go to the bathroom. We don't want you to pee in our car. You're going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be unhappy. So I'll stop at the nearest restroom. I really love you that much. I'll do that for you. And it's really not that big a deal. So you've got to understand if you want something or you need something, you just have to ask us. Tell us your truth. Don't expect us to figure it out. Let's just get right to the truth. And that's really step number 3. And step number 3 is just to be honest. First with yourself and then with the guy. Tell him your truth. If you need to go to the bathroom, tell him, I need to go to the bathroom. If you want him to do something special for your birthday, say, you know what? It would mean a lot to me if we did something special for my birthday. If you want him to get you something special for Christmas, then say, you know what? Just get me something special. If there's something specific you want him to get, say, you know what? I would love it if you would get me this. Don't get upset if he puts his heart and his soul into buying you a present and then you go get mad at him. What the hell did you buy me that for? You should have known. Well, us guys, we're clueless. You need to tell us. If there's something special you want, let us know. I promise you, if you follow these 3 steps, you'll have a much greater chance of a man understanding you and really knowing what you're thinking. So I'd love to hear from you. Mirror time. Have you been really honest? Have you been expecting a man or men to think the way you think they should? Do you have these expectations and think that they should see things differently than you see them? Again, there's no right or wrong here, but how can you use this information? How can you use these tips to help you in your love life and going forward? So take that mirror time and go ahead and put your question, comment, and feedback in the box below. As always, honor, privilege to be with you. I'll see you next time. Much love.